They say the most dangerous man in the room is the one who says nothing. He doesn't need to raise his voice. He doesn't need to intimidate. He simply exists calm, composed, unshaken, and somehow that's what makes people nervous. Why? Because in a world drowning in noise, silence is power. In a world addicted to chaos, stillness is rebellion. This is not about brute strength or loud opinions. This is about a mind sharp as steel, quiet as night, a mind so strong it shakes people without a single word. And that's exactly what you're about to uncover. You see, Stoicism isn't a dusty relic of ancient philosophy. It's a weapon forged in fire. It was wielded by generals as their men bled beside them. It held emperors together when their empires collapsed. And today, it might be the only armor left that works. Stoicism teaches one brutal, liberating truth. You cannot control the world, but you can master your mind. And when you do, you become unshakable. Not because life gets easier, but because you stop needing it to be. In this video, we'll go deeper than motivational quotes. We'll strip away the illusions. We'll rebuild the foundation of what true strength means from the inside out. By the time you finish this, you won't just understand Stoicism. You'll feel it in your bones. And the next time life tries to rattle you, you'll look it dead in the eye and not flinch. Let's begin. Number 1. The mind shift that changes everything. Want to build a mind that makes others pause? Then don't start by adding more. Start by letting go. Let go of the illusion that life is supposed to be easy. Let go of the belief that good things just happen if you're good enough. That's the first lie, the first chain, the first wall that has to fall. People aren't broken by events. They're broken by the belief that those events shouldn't happen. But the world makes no such promises. It isn't fair. It isn't cruel. It simply is. And when you finally stop saying, "Why is this happening to me?" and start saying, "I was made for this," everything changes. The strongest minds, the ones we quietly admire, maybe even fear, they're not the ones who never fall. They're the ones who rise again and again without complaint. That's the shift from wishing the world were better to becoming better for the world you're in. Think about Viktor Frankl, stripped of everything, thrown into a hell no human should endure. And yet, he found power, not in freedom, but in choice, the freedom to choose how he would respond. That's not a small thing. That's the blueprint for an unshakable life. And that's the mind we're building, one truth at a time. The strongest minds, the ones forged through fire, don't always wear the scars on their skin. You see it in how they pause before reacting, how they ask questions instead of lashing out. That kind of strength doesn't come by accident. But here's the good news. You don't have to wait for disaster to become resilient. You can train your mind right now. Start small. Start by becoming aware. Ask yourself, does this really matter? Is there another way to see this? If I follow this emotion, what will it cost me? These aren't just philosophical questions, they're mental weapons. They cut through the noise. They stop the spiral. They bring you back to choice, and that's where power begins. Now here's the hard truth. Stop thinking failure is wrong. Failure is the gym where strength is built. You can't develop patience when everything is easy. You can't build conviction if no one ever challenges you. You can't form unshakable calm if you've never stood alone in silence. Strength doesn't come from what's comfortable. It comes from the fire. Truly strong people don't need to say, "I'm fine." They are fine. They don't need to dominate. They don't even need to speak. Their presence alone makes others uncomfortable, not because they're loud, but because they reflect everything unstable in the people around them. Want a practice that rewires your mind today? Replace "Why is this happening to me?" with "What is this here to teach me?" That one shift is a weapon. It pulls you out of the past, out of the chaos, and drops you into the present, where your real power lives. Because here's the truth: the world won't always make sense, but you can train your mind to stay solid no matter what shakes around you. A truly strong mind doesn't wear armor. It doesn't seek validation. It doesn't shout or threaten. It simply is. And because it doesn't need to win, it can't be beaten. But mindset alone isn't enough. You also need to confront the quiet habits that poison your strength. The ones that seem harmless but slowly rot your discipline from the inside. That's where we go next. Number 2. The habits you must break to grow. Most men stay stuck not because they lack potential, but because they unknowingly carry mental dead weight, habits, patterns, loops. If you start each day scrolling, complaining, procrastinating, or chasing comfort, you're not building a strong mind. You're weakening it without even realizing. Let's start with complaining. It feels good for a second, but it's mental poison. When you grumble about your job, your boss, the traffic, your schedule, you're telling your brain one thing: I am powerless. And the more you say it, the more you believe it. Now ask yourself, have you ever seen a man of discipline, calm, and focus who whines about everything? You haven't. Because they don't. The Stoic mind does one of two things: act or release. If he can change it, he acts. If he can't, he lets it go. Everything in between. Wasted breath, wasted time, wasted life. Next time the urge to complain creeps in, pause. Ask, can I change this right now? If yes, do it. If no, breathe. Let go. Move on. And then there's the quiet killer, comfort. It seduces you with softness, familiarity, ease. But here's what the comfort zone never tells you. It's a trap. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. It dies there. Stoicism doesn't teach you to be numb. It teaches you to stare discomfort in the face and step forward anyway. Every time you skip a workout because you're tired, every time you stay silent to avoid conflict, every time you delay a decision because you're afraid, you're sending yourself one message: today, I choose not to grow. Let that sink in. Growth doesn't live in books or podcasts. It lives in the moment you decide to do the uncomfortable thing on purpose. Wake up earlier. Say no when you usually say maybe. Try something that makes your hands shake. That's how your mind expands, not through theory, through fire. But most people won't do it. Why? Excuses, elegant, polished, convincing, but still lies. I'm busy. I don't have time. That's just not who I am. Excuses are fear, dressed in logic. Fear of failure. Fear of being seen trying. fear of change, and the worst part, we treat excuses like truths. The Stoic path leaves no room for that. Strong minds don't negotiate. With fear, they don't wait for motivation. They move because the mission demands it. Ask yourself, what part of my life is stuck? Simply because I keep making excuses. And now the silent killer. Approval. It's wired into us. We want to be liked. We want to be praised. We want the room to nod and clap and validate every step we take. But here's the brutal truth. When you live for their approval, you die by their rejection. A man who bends his choices to fit others' opinions will slowly erase himself. The Stoics warned us of this trap. Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. When you can be misunderstood and remain unmoved, when you can be disliked and still stay grounded. That's when you begin to taste real freedom. And here's the paradox. When you stop chasing validation, you stop feeling empty. You feel lighter, like cutting the ropes off a hot air balloon. Suddenly, you rise. You don't need more. You need less. Less complaining, less comfort-seeking, less excuse-making, less craving applause. That's when you begin to meet a version of yourself you've never seen before. Calm, clear, unshakable. Now pause. One breath. Close your eyes and ask yourself, am I nurturing my mind or quietly sabotaging it? What habit do I keep repeating that I know is holding me back? You don't need to fix everything overnight. You don't need a plan, a journal, or a new routine. You need one action. Stop one habit you know is costing you strength. No promises. No overthinking. Just do it. Each time you do, it's a hammer blow against the wall that cages your willpower. And one day soon, you won't need to pretend you're strong. You will be . And then you'll be ready for the next phase. Not just tearing down the weak, but building the strong. Because now, it's time to talk about daily practice, about what it really takes to forge mental steel, concrete actions, unbreakable rhythms. A foundation so solid, even chaos can't shake it. Number 3. Daily practices for inner strength. After demolishing the lies, the habits, and the noise, you're left with bare ground. It's not a void. It's a beginning. And the building starts now. What you lay down each day isn't theory, it's foundation. Mental strength isn't found in books. It's poured one drop at a time through repeated action. Real Stoicism. It's not meant to be understood. It's meant to be lived. And living it means showing up every single day. The world tries to mystify mental toughness, like it's a gift bestowed on the chosen few. But the Stoics knew the truth. The mind is a construction site. It doesn't rise overnight. You build it brick by brick, beam by beam, discipline by discipline. Even with something as simple as a cold shower. Not heroic, not grand, but the first test of the day. Will you embrace discomfort to regain command, or slip back into the arms of old weakness? Then there's movement. You cannot forge a sharp mind in a fragile vessel. The ancient Romans knew this well. The body is the instrument of the will. When you train, lift, run, push your limits, you're not sculpting muscle. You're chiseling endurance, carving grit. And above all forging self-respect, you said you'd do it. And you did. No fanfare, no witnesses, just you keeping a promise to yourself. Now ask yourself, when was the last time you didn't? But strength isn't just in intensity. It's in depth. True Stoics don't just train the body, they still the mind. A few minutes each day. No phone, no noise, no input. Just silence. Call it what you want, stillness, meditation, reflection. But understand this. No man can command his emotions if he's never taken the time to meet them. Because when chaos hits, and it will, it's this daily silence that becomes your anchor. While the rest of the world is swept away like leaves in a storm. And then comes the practice most avoid: voluntary challenge. Not to prove, not to impress, but to sharpen. Wake when the alarm rings. Send the email you've been avoiding. Say no and mean it. Try the thing that makes you feel clumsy, exposed, unsure. It doesn't matter how small. Each time you do, you lay down another layer of willpower. And each time you don't, you dig a deeper hole into yourself. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Don't explain that line, live it. The freedom you're chasing isn't out there. It's here in the discipline to do what must be done, especially when you don't feel like it. So pause and ask yourself, when was the last time you chose difficulty over ease? When was the last time you said no to comfort and yes to growth? A strong mind doesn't need attention. It moves quietly, works in the dark. It doesn't overreact. It doesn't flinch. And people, they'll feel that. They won't always understand it, but they'll respect it or fear it. Because true inner power unsettles those who haven't found theirs yet. So start. Not tomorrow. Now. Cold shower. Move your body. Sit in silence. Do the thing that scares you, not because it's trending, not for a dopamine hit, but because you're done waiting. You're building a mind of stone. No applause, no glory, just that quiet, unshakable knowing you're not who you were. And when that shift happens, when your reactions change, when anger doesn't grip you, when laziness doesn't win, when fear doesn't stop you, that's when you'll know you're becoming dangerous in the right way. You're ready for the next lesson, the one most men avoid. But every true Stoic spends a lifetime mastering how to rethink failure, not to avoid it, not to cover it up, but to befriend it, to make it a mentor, a mirror, a forge. Number 4. Rethink failure like a Stoic. We were raised to treat failure like a stain, something to hide, to run from, to bury under excuses, and try again quickly as if trying again could erase the discomfort of falling short. But to a Stoic, failure isn't a trap. It's a map. Not the one you hang on your wall, but the crumpled, blood-stained kind you keep in your pocket, marked with every sharp turn, every storm, every misstep. And the truth is, anyone who's gone far has walked with that map. Failure shows you where you're weak, where your illusions lived, where you thought you were ready, but weren't. Most people see failure as the end. The Stoic, he sees it as a signal, a stern nod from life saying, pay attention. This is where the growth begins. If you've ever been fired, rejected, or stood In a crowded room and still felt invisible, you've known failure. And if all you did was rage, retreat, or numb yourself, you missed the test. Because those moments, they're not punishments, they're invitations. A strong mind doesn't avoid failure, it sits in silence with it and asks, "What are you here to teach me?" The ones we quietly admire, the unshakable men, they've asked that question over and over again, and then they waited for the answer. No panic, no blame, no ego. Catherine Schultz, Pulitzer Prize winner, wrote being wrong to showcase a brutal truth. The best minds aren't the ones who are always right, they're the ones who aren't afraid to be wrong. Because if you can't admit you were wrong, you'll never become someone stronger than who you are now. No evolution, no real growth, just polished denial. Think about it. What's one failure you're still carrying, not because it defines you, but because you refuse to face it? That's not a scar. That's a cage. The ego that can't admit fault. It's the most invisible prison you'll ever live in. A Stoic doesn't fear his flaws. He studies them. Because he knows this: if I can't face being wrong, then I'll never earn the right to get better. Sarah Blakely, the world's youngest self-made female billionaire, had a father who asked her every day, "What did you fail at today?" Most, that sounds harsh, but to her, it was a compass. It normalized failure. It made reaching natural. So, when her idea Spanx got rejected time and time again, she didn't spiral. She smiled, because she knew every no was one step closer to yes. You're not so different from her. The only thing separating you from that level of resilience is how you treat rejection. Blakely trained her brain not to flinch. And so must you. The Stoic mind is like steel, not tempered in warm water, but through fire, hammer, and time. Every time you fail, you face the same choice: shrink back to safety, or step back into the forge and reshape yourself. Epictetus said, "Difficulties show men what they are, not praise, not applause, but hardship, failure, loss. These are the chisels that carve away illusion, revealing what's real beneath. And only when you've faced that version of yourself bare, flawed, incomplete, can rebuilding begin." The problem: no one teaches us how to fail well. We're trained to win, to be clever, to impress. But no one shows us how to sit with a loss and extract wisdom from it. Learn to watch someone you love walk away without losing your self-worth. Learn to stare at a report card full of Fs without believing you're a failure. Learn to sit with failure and still stay awake. That's what a Stoic does. Not because they feel no pain, but because they refuse to be consumed by it. A Stoic feels deeply, but doesn't drown. He bleeds but doesn't break. So if you want to build a mind so unshakable that people pause before they cross you, don't start at your strengths. Start at the one place you keep avoiding. Your weakest failure, the one you buried, the one you don't talk about, the one that still stings when you're alone in silence. Write it down. Look at it. Not to punish yourself, but to learn. And the next time failure knocks, don't hide. Don't run. Don't pretend it's not there. Open the door. Pour it a cup of tea and ask, "What are you here to teach me this time?" If you've made it this far, you're not just watching a video, you're forging yourself in fire. This is no longer comfort. This is confrontation, not with others, but with the man in the mirror, the version of you that's still asleep, still waiting, still clinging to excuses. But what's next? That's the part that separates the ordinary from the unbreakable. Because next, we're stepping into battle not against the world, but against the one enemy that steals more strength than failure ever could: your own uncontrolled emotions. Number 5. Master your emotions under fire. Think back. When was the last time someone disrespected you? A careless remark, a smirk, a sharp insult in a meeting. What happened inside? Your chest tightened. Blood rushed to your head. You clenched your fists. Your mind replayed the scene over and over. You wanted to snap. That reaction, it's human, it's instinct. But it's not always necessary, because emotions are like steam in a pressure cooker. If you let them out too soon, they scald everyone around you. But manage the heat, and you create something powerful. The problem isn't the fire. It's whether you've trained yourself to master it. Stoicism doesn't ask you to be cold. It doesn't ask you to be robotic. It only asks one thing. Is this emotion worth the cost of your peace? Is it worth 3 days of anger over one nasty comment online? Worth slamming the table in a meeting because someone rolled their eyes? Worth ruining your whole evening over a look that triggered your pride? Most people never ask those questions. But the Stoic does every time. Because emotions aren't enemies, they're messengers. And your strength lies not in silencing them, but in reading them without being ruled. I once saw it happen in a real job interview. The candidate, confident, experienced, walks in, and the interviewer gives a skeptical glance. Most would tense up, grow defensive. But this man, he smiled and calmly said, "You seem hesitant. Would you mind sharing your concerns so I can address them?" Silence. The room changed. That wasn't just poise, it was power. Because he didn't react. He responded. He held the frame. He controlled the heat. And everyone noticed. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. That's not poetry. That's a weapon, a truth most men fear because it removes the last excuse. If you truly believed that your reactions were your responsibility, you could no longer blame anyone else for your emotional storms. And maybe that's why we resist it. Because the moment you admit you control your inner world, you also admit that every emotional spiral was your choice. His wife would get upset. Not just annoyed, furious. But he didn't yell. He didn't argue. He simply said, "I stay silent not because I'm afraid, but because I've learned that when someone's angry, they say things they don't mean, and I choose not to make it worse." This man wasn't a philosopher. He didn't quote Epictetus or Marcus Aurelius. He never read a single line of Seneca. But make no mistake, he was a true Stoic. Because pausing before reacting, that's not a clever trick. It's a skill, a daily discipline. And like all skills, it's built slowly, deliberately, often in the heat of battle. So try this. Before you leave your house tomorrow, say to yourself, "Today, I will not react too quickly. And when the urge comes, when you want to snap, lash out, fire back, just count to 5. Not to delay, but to decide. Because what you're about to say, it matters. And if you say it under emotion's grip, you'll likely regret it. There's a line in Proverbs that captures this perfectly. A fool gives full vent to his spirit, but a wise man quietly holds it back. That is Stoic wisdom. Not the knowing, but the holding back. Do this for a week, just 7 days. You'll feel it not just in your mind, but in the way others respond to you. Suddenly, people won't challenge you the same way, not because you've become cold, but because you've become unshakable. Your energy says, I don't need to win. I don't need to prove. I just need to stay solid. And that quiet power, that unnerves people, because nothing unsettles the unstable like someone who cannot be rattled. Number 6. Build an unshakable mental core. No one is born with mental strength. Not the Stoics. Not you. Not me. It's not a gift. It's not talent. It's training. Deliberate, quiet, repetitive. Built not in lecture halls or retreats, but in the ordinary pressures of daily life. Think about it. The traffic isn't moving. Your boss just blamed you for something you didn't do. Your inbox is on fire. Your phone won't stop buzzing. You've had no sleep. And now, someone's attitude pushes you over the edge. That's the test. That's the forge. And a strong mind, it doesn't explode. It doesn't lash out. It sits, breathes, and calmly whispers to itself, I've been through worse. I can handle this. That's Stoicism. Not a long speech. Just one decision in one moment that transforms the outcome. Picture your mind like a house. When the storm comes, fragile people run outside panicked, exposed. The Stoic, he shuts the door. He checks the windows. He fortifies from within. Because the storm isn't the problem. Being unprepared is. And here's the truth no one likes to admit. The world won't get easier. You just get stronger. You train your focus. You train your patience. You train your restraint. So start with one moment. Just one. That time you usually overreact. Someone cuts you off. A passive-aggressive comment. You spill your coffee on your notes. Pause. Ask. Is this emotion helping anything? Or is it just noise? If it's noise, let it go. And that's another brick laid in your inner fortress. No audience. No applause. But it builds. And as it builds, you become the person who others may not understand, but cannot shake. They may criticize you, dismiss you, try to provoke you. But deep down, they know. This one doesn't flinch. They try to rattle you, but they pause because something in your stillness unnerves them. Let me tell you a story. Not to entertain, not to impress, but because maybe, just maybe, you need to see yourself in someone else. To believe that even when life breaks you, you can still rebuild from the rubble. His name was Mark, a quiet man in the suburbs of Cincinnati, Ohio. He used to be a delivery driver 12-hour days, 6 days a week. Not to buy watches or vacations, but to send money home to a mother dying of cancer, and to pay off student loans from a degree he never finished. Because life demanded he work full time. Then came the winter. Snow on the roads. Black ice at the intersection. His truck skidded. Metal crunched. The delivery was cancelled. And so was his job. A week later, his girlfriend left. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. Just left a note on the counter. I can't live in this uncertainty. So there he was, sitting in a cold, silent apartment. Thin blankets, a wheezing heater, and $72 in his bank account. No Instagram story, no phone calls, no pity party, just him and his phone. He opened his notes app and typed, "No one's coming, so I have to come for myself." That was the day Mark stopped waiting. 3 months later, he took day work at an old garage. A year later, he was fixing the same kind of truck that once broke him. 7 years later, he published a book titled Enduring Didn't Make Me Strong. Rebuilding did. Let that sit for a moment. Now bring it back to you. Try this simple tool. It takes 3 minutes, but it can reshape your inner world every night before you sleep. Write down one moment from your day where you lost control. Then write 3 different ways you could have responded if your mind had been stronger. Do this over and over, not to shame yourself, but to sharpen yourself. You'll start to realize strength doesn't come from feeling powerful. It comes from being harder to shake. One decision at a time. And the truth is, people won't fear you because you talk loud, or because you argue better, or because you look tough. They'll tread lightly around you because they can feel it. You don't waver. When others spiral, you hold your line. When they chase chaos, you walk in rhythm. Your calm reflects their storm, and not everyone's ready to face their own reflection. So if you're still here, still listening, still reading, you need to hear this. Mental strength won't make the road easier, but it will keep you standing when the path turns brutal. Still, there's something even stronger than strength. Something sharper than grit, more reliable than passion. Discipline. Because motivation is a ghost. It shows up when it wants. It disappears when you need it most. But discipline is the hammer in your hand when the fire goes out. Number 7. Why discipline beats motivation. It's 5:30 a.m. The alarm explodes in the cold silence. Your body says no. Your mind starts negotiating. Just 10 more minutes, then 10 more. Until you crawl out of bed, not angry because you're late, but because you lost the quiet battle. Again. And this isn't a willpower problem. It's the price of an untrained mind. See, we've been lied to. We're told that a single quote, a single speech, a single powerful reason will change everything. But that's a beautiful illusion. Motivation is a visitor, a tourist. It doesn't stay. If you build your future on motivation, you'll work only when you feel like it and fall apart when you don't. But discipline is different. It's silent. It's unseen. But it shows. It shows when you speak less and do more. When you walk to the gym in the rain. When you skip the junk food. When you read instead of scroll. When you do what you said you would do whether the world is watching or not. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like it. And those who master it, they don't just earn respect. They become the type of people Others rely on when the storm comes. Because storms don't care how inspired you were yesterday. They care whether you showed up anyway. You're not chasing motivation. You're chasing something deeper, something unshakable. People call it persistence. But you know better. It's not that you're persistent. It's that there is no other option. You've trained your mind to act without waiting, without feeling ready, without needing permission. Right action has become reflex. There's no inner debate, no maybe later, no let me feel inspired first. Look at the ones who keep winning, not the loudest, not the most hyped, but the most consistent. The writer who writes every day, even when the page stays blank. The athlete who trains in silence, even when their heart feels broken. The entrepreneur who studies each morning, even after failure knocks them flat. They don't live by sparks. They live by systems, goals. They're just compasses. They tell you where. They don't move your feet. Systems, they're the wheels, the daily routines, the structure behind the power. Want to lose weight? Schedule 5 workouts. Toss the junk food. Want to write a book? Commit to 500 words a day, even if every word feels wrong. That's discipline. Not a tyrant. A gatekeeper. It stands at the threshold of your future and asks, are you ready to earn this? It doesn't care how you feel. It cares what you do. And what you do in the quiet, in the cold. When no one is clapping, that's where your edge is born. You won't have to shout. You won't have to prove anything. Your results will speak. Your calm will speak. Your rhythm will shake people because they'll sense it. This one doesn't waver, and they'll wonder how. They'll wonder why your fire never fades. But you'll know it wasn't magic. It was movement. One step, then another. No applause, no reward, just repetition. That's how you build something no one can copy. Because discipline, it can't be borrowed. It can't be faked. It must be forged, day by day, in silence. And if you live like that long enough, you won't just be mentally strong, you'll become a pillar in a world built on sand. And nothing is more powerful than a human being who always knows what to do no matter how they feel. We've just walked through 7 principles, tools to forge a mind so solid it commands respect, without ever raising its voice. Not because you pretend to be strong, but because you act with discipline, you live with intention. You hold your center even when the world spins out of control. That's Stoicism. It doesn't offer comfort. It offers clarity. It doesn't say feel better. It says do what's right, even when you feel like quitting. Because in those moments, the tired ones, the dark ones, the silent ones, your mind evolves. Not loudly, but relentlessly. And one day, someone will ask, how do you stay so grounded, so calm, so focused? And you'll smile, because you'll know it wasn't luck. It wasn't genetics. It was practice. If something in this video stirred something inside you, a thought, a truth, a challenge, leave a comment. Tell me what you're pushing through, what you're building, what you're ready to stop making excuses for. And if this path of inner mastery speaks to you, hit subscribe, turn on the bell, and follow Stoic Capsule. Because this journey isn't ending here. It's only just begun.